We may be just days away from the Euros starting, but the Championship never sleeps. Believe you me, we've had the managerial merry-go-round spinning at quite a rate. We've had the released, the retained list. The transfer window will be opening. Before you know it, it's going to be upon us. The 24-25 season. We'll get into proper predictions somewhere nearer the time. But let's check in with our good friends at the bookies and see where the smart money, is it the smart money, the silly money, the early money is going in the Championship. Here are the early season odds. I'm going to give my reaction. I'd love to know yours in the comments. And we'll see which ones we agree with, which ones we don't, which ones we think are going to be a long way off. Brace yourself. We're going to start down at the bottom. And it is bad news forecast in terms of where people are putting their money for Oxford and Plymouth. Interesting. I mean, it's no great surprise to see Oxford down there in the bookies list. They've obviously come up from League One as the lowest ranked team in the division. They haven't been in the Championship for a long while. But momentum can be a big thing, can't it? Particularly in those first 2 months of the season while everyone else is sorting things out. You may be on a better winning run from League One. But Oxford, well, the money says they're going to finish bottom. And Plymouth, with them, in fact, you say bottom, look, they're tied up there at 80-1 in the bookies odds. Wayne Rooney is the new Plymouth manager. I did a video on that. Not a lot of confidence from, well, outside and inside. He's got a lot to prove and he needs to keep Plymouth in the division and he needs to be competitive. Else, all of those comments I got saying, Ben, he'll be done by October, are going to turn out to be true. Right, you can see we've got 2 teams then on 40-1 there. Expected by the market to be, well, one of them's going to be going down and one of them's going to be just surviving. Look at that. That's a bit of a surprise to me. Preston and Cardiff, both of whom were up in the top half, weren't they, last season? Preston always punch their way, don't they, under a succession of managers. Cardiff, I mean, they had their best season in the world, didn't they? The embargo got lifted. Errol Ballou has just been given a new contract, hasn't he? I can only think that's a market thing and the money goes elsewhere and maybe Cardiff and Preston aren't fashionable teams to bet on, but they know the Championship better than most. They should have some continuity with the managers Ballou and obviously Ryan Lowe as well. Not sure I see that, but you give me your views down there in the comments. We've now got 4 teams at 33-1. It's obviously to win the Championship, but it gives you a nice list, doesn't it? Blackburn, Millwall, Bristol City, and Swansea. All clubs that changed managers during the season last season. Blackburn with John Eustace in, and we do worry about the finances there. Does feel like it's been a kind of slow drop down for Blackburn, and they needed to pull out a couple of big results at Leeds and Leicester to survive last season. So, yeah, maybe I'm buying that. Millwall, well, they were abject relegation team under Joe Edwards, weren't they? Gary Rowett left, didn't he, towards the start of the season. But they were the best team in the league under Neil Harris. Are they going to pick that up? Was that just a come in and shake things up? I don't know. You tell me. Bristol City, that seems low to me because I think they've sorted out the finances there. And Liam Manning's obviously got his feet under the table. Finished the season pretty well, didn't they? Were they in the top half of the 12th in the end? Was there or thereabout? That seems low for me there. Bristol City coming in around 18th there. Swansea, again, that's a similar description I'd use to Blackburn in respects of it's kind of been dropping down since the parachute payments ran out and Steve Cooper and Andre Ayew left the building. Didn't work with Mike Duff, but Luke Williams, second season in there. I think they'll be miles out from the middle. Maybe that's skewing a bit low, but I can't say that about everybody, can I? Someone has to be in the bottom 3, bottom 6, bottom 8, as we've got Swansea there. We've got 2 teams now at 25 to 1. QPR and Sheffield Wednesday. Wow, they were the 2 teams I thought were completely doomed when it got to October, November last year. To be honest, I thought Sheffield Wednesday were doomed at about September, I would have to say. But they made really good managerial hires. And look, we're talking about 15th and 16th. I've got to say, Cifuentes and Roll, could it be even higher than that for one or other of those teams? Or could those managers be sought after by certain other teams? Just name them. We're talking about the likes of Burnley and Leicester, where those jobs are available. I don't think they'll both shoot up into the top half, but there's a chance that one of them does if the managers are as good as we think they are. Be very, very interesting. You do also always have the spectre of Mr. Chansiri at Sheffield Wednesday, don't you, doing something crazy? We'll see what transpires with that. Before I go into this, plethora of teams that are at 20 to 1 there, you just see over my shoulder my lovely Beer 52 display there. If you want a free box for Father's Day, it is the Father's Day edition now at Beer 52. Head over to beer52.com/bloom. That's beer52.com/bloom. To get your free box, you do have to pay the postage, which is £5.95, but no obligations other than that. You get 8 lovely beers selected. You can choose dark beers if that's your thing too. You get some bar snacks in there and a copy of the Ferment magazine. It's a great deal. Loads of the subscribers have taken it up already. It helps us out here on the channel if you do. So get your dad, if you're in the market for a Father's Day present, a lovely free box of Beer 52. You pay the postage, £5.95. www.beer5252.com/bloom. Please drink responsibly. Right. Who are all these teams chewing up the middle there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 of them at 20 to 1. Let's get in. Hull, Stoke, Derby. Look how high Derby are. Wow. Watford, Portsmouth as well at 20s, and Sunderland. I mean, goodness me. Let's just touch on Derby and Portsmouth. Is this an Ipswich and Sunderland thing from the last 2 seasons where we've had a promoted League One side finish in, second last season and 6th the season before? I suspect if you straw polled most Portsmouth and Derby fans, they would be pretty happy to be in 10th or 12th. Look, I think they're going to have momentum. They're both big clubs, even by championship size. But are they going to be up there in 10th and 12th? Not so sure myself. Let's drop down to Hull there. That's interesting. Hull were on the edges of the playoffs, and I would say outside of Coventry, who raised loads of money for 2 big sales, and the parachute teams, they went for it the most financially last year. Tim Walter in this season. So I guess that tempers it a little bit. But Mr. Illichali is not going to tolerate Hull not being in the top half. That's interesting. Stoke, it's the point where I throw my hands up like that Alan Partridge gif, isn't it? I always get Stoke wrong, and I hate to say they're always a bit lower than I expect. Can Schumacher get them going? Well, nobody's managed it so far. So I suspect when it comes to doing my predictions, I will be tempering it with Stoke. They'll probably be in the bottom half given what's happened. One day, they're going to prove us all wrong, aren't they? Next season, don't know. Watford, 20 to 1. Watford, 11th. I'm not having it. I think Watford might be a bit lower than that. I smell trouble at Watford. There are still good assets there, but if this selling off, what is it, 10% of the club to fans to raise money is anything to go by, I don't know how good that smells. But yeah, I'm not necessarily having Watford as high as 11th after the past couple of seasons. Parachute payments run out there as well. Final one there, Sunderland. Who the hell knows? But haven't had a manager basically since, I think, was it about February? Mick Beale went off. Might have even been earlier than that. But big club, Sunderland. But there's no evidence yet. There might be. Might make a really good managerial hire and have a good transfer window. No evidence for me that they're going to be as high as 9. Feels like I took all the clubs that were lower and said they were going to be higher, and I'm taking all the ones they got in the middle and saying they're going to be they're going to be lower. There we go. We're going into the top 8, and we've got two sides at 16-1, according to the bookies. Coventry and Norwich. I make that just about right. I think a lot of people are going to have Coventry and Norwich as potential top 6 teams, aren't they, if they get a good season. Coventry, I think I'm a bit more certain on than Norwich, I would have to say. Coventry have done their transition season after selling Gyökeres and Hamer. Mark Robbins is as stable as you can get there. And we think the likes of Hadji Wright, Ellis Sims, Milan van Erik, all going to get better. Are they going to have to sell Ben Sheaf, though? That will weaken them, but raise a load of money. Callum O'Hare's probably going to go out on a free as well. I think Coventry are going to have a good season and be fairly close to... Where did they finish? Was it 5th for their playoff season? Trying to remember. Who did Coventry play? Both? Yeah, it would have been 5th, wouldn't it? Luton, 3rd, yeah. I think they'll be fairly close to that. That doesn't look too far out for me. Norwich, well, you tell me. If this managerial hire is a good one, you know what Norwich are like. They'll be right up there in the table, challenging top 6, top 4. If the manager there can't work things out and get going straight away, Johannes Hoff-Thorup, it could be trouble. And we need to see who leaves out of the... I think there's like 5 stars there at Norwich with Sarah, I can't remember them all here, Science, Rowe, Nunez, one more, Sargent. How many of those are going to be sold and can they reinvest the money? So I buy both of those as a challenge, and maybe Coventry I've got over Norwich at the moment. Our two 14-1 shots there, Sheffield United and West Brom. That's interesting. I might flip those two with Coventry and Norwich. I was talking to Blades fans after I did a video about the 3 teams coming down. They were not a confident bunch. You do have cheat codey type players like Archer and Ahmed Hodzic and Hamer, but the Blades fans I spoke to were worried about the stability of the club and players being sold. West Brom, I don't know. Is Carlos Corberan... He's going to be linked with the Burnley and with the Leicester jobs that I've mentioned a couple of times already this video. And what are the owners going to be able to do? We know financially it had not been good there. Look, if you show me when the transfer window closes, a good window, Carlos Corberan's still there, then yes, I'll have it. But I still think I'm switching those two around with Norwich and Coventry. Right, let's get into 2 teams at 12-1 that are expected by the market to finish in the top 4. And those 2 teams are Luton and Middlesbrough. Luton, very stable, very sensible. Literally the only thing I think, or the only argument I can make for stopping Luton, is that they've had about 8 seasons in a row where they've kind of punched their weight and done, well, they've just been brilliant, haven't they? Riding their way right up the leagues, surviving, stabilising, playoff defeat, playoff victory, did all right in the Premier League, were they were the best, weren't they, of the 3 promoted teams in terms of the league finish there. They can't have a bad season or an average season once. It's the only thing I can say for Luton. Otherwise, we do expect them to be challenging right at the top. We're going to have the year 1 parachute payment, Premier League squad as well. That's the only argument I can really make against Luton. Would I have Middlesbrough with them? Possibly. I'm probably bracketing Middlesbrough with Coventry and Norwich, to be honest. But I guess Michael Carrick signed the new contract, and very much like Coventry, we're expecting after a season of transition, after playoff team, very similar to Coventry, isn't it? Got broken up, and Akpom and Archer and Giles and Ramsey all went out. Now they look like they're ready to go again. And Latte Lath, I'm sure if we did bookies odds for top scorer, he's going to be right up the top of those charts as well. So 3rd, I don't know about that, but maybe those teams that were in the playoffs a couple of years ago, Luton, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, Coventry, certainly 3 of them, pending the Sunderland manager appointment, could be up there again. Who have we got at 13-2? It is Burnley. Burnley obviously walked the league with Vincent Kompany at 100 points and have a year 1 parachute payment and spent 95 million euros, pounds. Can't remember which figure it was last season on the squad. But, and here's a big but, Vincent Kompany's gone, hasn't he, to Bayern Munich? Who's the manager? They should be able to get them in the top 2, shouldn't they? But that's easy to say on paper. We always say a competent year 1 parachute team should be there or thereabouts, top 2, top 4, top 6, a minimum. They're not always competent. They all were competent last season, weren't they? That's why 2 of them got promoted. Only split by the freak season that Ipswich had to finish in second. So Burnley, I throw my hands up. We would expect them to be roughly there. But with the information we have, we don't know who the manager is. And that could be the big difference maker. And who have we got left? Leeds United. Look, I can see that. There is obviously the thing with Leeds where they've got such a gigantic fan base and so much interest that it's a bit like betting on England before a tournament in England. You know the odds are going to go short just by the sheer amount of money that's going to go on it. But Leeds got 90 points last season. They're going to back Daniel Farke. He's going to be around for another season. He generally wins the championship or comes very close. First, third, losing in the playoff final in his last 3 championship campaigns with Norwich and Leeds. We're hearing Brendan Aronson's going to come back. We're hearing Red Bull are going to be paying a ton of money in terms of the sponsorship. Got a year 2 parachute team. Yes, maybe Somerville, Nonto, name a another. Gray, I don't know if someone will stump up the cash needed for him. But there's going to be sales. But if Leeds can keep continuity, they've certainly got the power to justify themselves being up at the top of the betting. Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments on what you make of the bookies odds so far. A few surprised me there, maybe Pompey and Darby up that high. Would you, like me, would you swap sort of commentary in Norwich and Sheffield United and West Brom? I don't know. Would you have Cardiff and Preston that low? I don't think I would. Which ones are you kind of swapping about there? Let me know your thoughts down there in the comments. Look, I get it for those miserable people who want to go, oh, it's far too early to be talking about this. Whatever. Don't talk about it then. It's never too early to have a conversation about what we think is going to be happening in the championship. I love it, and if you love it too, get down there in the comments and let me know your thoughts on what the bookies are saying, the early championship 24-25 predictions.